So guys, what you want to do is set yourselves up so that when you're sitting on your mat, if you have a mat, if you don't, you can get a long towel of some sort, right? You could use that as well. But we're going to sit into the middle of your mat if you can, and just put your arms out. So when you put your arms out to the side, you should not be knocking anything over, okay? And if you can do that, great. If you need to shift yourself around a little bit, do that. The first little bit is just finding your space. Okay, I'm just going to check. Give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. It's a half hour you want to do here, guys, yeah? Good, excellent, lovely. All right then, so, guys, if you're sitting beside somebody else, what you got to do is stagger the mats out a little bit so that you're not going to slap each other. So if you can make sure that one of the mats is a bit more forwards, one of the mats is a bit more back, okay, and then when you're sitting into the middle of your mat and you put your arms out, if you're both sitting in the middle of your mat and you put your arms out, you're not going to be hitting each other. Yeah? Good. Excellent. If you want to get a prop, have you got a pillow? If you have one of those, we're going to sit under the prop. Sitting up nice and tall. Okay. So first things first, just allowing ourselves to settle down and take a few breaths. Okay. Just allowing ourselves a chance to find that little bit of space and peace. So closing your eyes, let's let the hands just be down by the sides of the body. So we're going to have the hands down by the sides of the body on the floor. Okay, and let's take a nice big deep breath in together. And as you exhale, it's a long, loud sigh. You're going to move through the spine from side to side so that you're loosening up the lower back, the mid back, and the upper back. Okay, so it doesn't matter if it looks like something odd, it is, right? But we're all weirdos together, aren't we, right? And life's too short to act normal all the time, right? So we're going to allow ourselves to move in this way. And it doesn't matter the speed that I am doing this at. You take your time with it. Okay, and you're loosening lower back, mid back, upper back, and the neck, right? And so if you find a space where you want to hang out, you can hang out and just feel a nice little stretch there. Just take a few breaths, closing the eyes if you feel comfortable doing that. And when you're ready, you're going to roll the chin back along the chest, back into the center. Let's bring the chin back to parallel to the floor. And as you inhale, we're going to reach those arms up, nice big stretch. You can look up if that feels good. And as you exhale, it's a big sigh. And we're going to shake the hands off here, like you're trying to just gently flick your water off your fingers. Imagine you had a little bit of water on your fingers here, yeah? Then you're going to wriggle those fingers here and carry on doing that. Just going to check what time it is so that I don't run over and take up over too much of your show. All right, good. And then we're going to allow ourselves to move through the wrists. So you're moving through the wrists here, and we're going to then move into the elbows if you can and move into those shoulders. And I want you to imagine now you're whipping up some energy. So you're whipping up some energy and you bring it in. Whip it up, bring it in. Great stuff. Okay, try to alternate the arm that goes on top. So try and let one arm go on top and the other one go on top. Might feel odd to you, but get used to that kind of alternating action. We're going to bring those hands down. Have a little check through the neck again. Breathe, breathe, breathe. You can yawn, you can sigh, you can groan anytime you want to, okay? Make the adjustments as you feel necessary. So really what this is about is me giving you some tools, okay? And you're going to use them and dip into that toolbox whenever you need them. So you can do different movements than what I'm suggesting. Of course, start to tune into what you need, right? So let's bring the hands behind us. The palms are going to be flat down on the floor. Okay, register which leg you've got crossed in front. We're going to swap it over, right? So you're going to swap the legs over, okay? So if you need to shake your legs off first of all, do that. But when you're happy to swap the legs over, you do that. Okay, we sit up nice and tall again. Breathe, right? There's nothing else you need to be doing right now. Nowhere else you need to be. And that's the beauty of this. When you set some time for yourself, just letting yourself have this, right? Close your eyes if you're able to. Hands just resting on the knees. And you're shutting out visual noise, essentially. You're giving your brain a break. It's not always comfortable to have your eyes closed. You don't have to. Okay, but if you have the opportunity to, and you feel comfortable doing it, let yourself have that moment. So let's take a nice big deep breath into your belly. You're going to round the stomach out. I want you to imagine you're pushing your belly forwards as much as you can towards the front of your mat. And then as you exhale, just drawing the belly button back in. And imagine then your belly button going up in behind your front ribs and pushing up against those lungs just to squeeze out what you don't need. So the inhale stretches those abdominal muscles. You got to stretch those abs like any other muscle group. They need to be stretched to maintain health. And then as you exhale, you draw the belly button back in again. Good. So let's let the hands come down to the sides of the body, just on the floor. We're going to have a gentle nod of the head. It's a nice gentle stretch in the back of the neck as you tuck your chin towards your chest. And then a nice gentle stretch into the front of the neck as you turn the face towards the sky. It's nothing too vigorous. Okay, nothing spectacular looking to begin with. Doesn't need to look spectacular to feel that way, right? So just start to allow yourself to nod the head, and it doesn't matter the speed that I'm doing this at or anybody else. There's not a correct number of times to do it. It's just about you finding a sense that you deserve a bit of time for you. Right, and then eventually you're going to bring the chin back to parallel to the floor. Have a little check to the neck and the shoulders. When I say check your neck, I'm including the shoulders, right? Because if your neck wasn't connected to your shoulders, your head would be on the floor, right? So have a little adjustment there when you feel you need or want it. That's okay. But eventually you're going to settle back. And I want you to try and get this sensation of a neutral neck position where you're not stressing or straining too much one way or the other. Okay, now I'm aware, guys, that it might not be easy for everybody to sit like so. So this is where you have your cushions or your blocks or whatever else you have. Okay, so if you need those cushions and those blocks, stick them underneath your legs. You might already be thinking, geez, this is, a really uncomfortable position to be in, right? But if you're here, you're here. Just enjoy it, okay? You're allowed to swap over. There's another way you can do this. If you really struggle with cross-legged, okay, you can get those props, those cushions, those pillows. You can stick them underneath you here, and you might come into what's called hero's pose. Okay, so that's options you have there. Grab more pillows, more cushions, more blocks if you need them, whatever. Use them, okay? So we're going to bring those hands behind us. Register which leg you've got crossed in front. You're going to swap it over, right? So if you need to shake your legs off first of all, if you've been struggling here, come off your props, give your legs a shake. Just remember which one you had in front. Okay? And then you're going to cross the other leg in front. All right then. So from here, let's bring those hands down by the sides of the body. Push the sitting bones down, lifting. Imagine you're lifting your ribs away from your hips. Imagine you had, like one of those games that you would have had in the fun fair where the hook comes down and goes like that and grabs a teddy bear, right? A less violent version of that on your head, just lifting you up here, yes? A nice cushioned claw, right? Cushioned claw lift of your head, right? Not relaxing, but it's funny, right? So we're going to shake the head from side to side. We're going to say no to unnecessary tension. And again, if you have a chance to close your eyes, do that. Give yourself permission. You don't need my permission to do these things. Right? So start to understand that you have a bit of agency with this, right? That you can make a difference for you, that you are going to be a better teacher for you than, me or anybody else could be. I'm just giving you these tools, and you're going to start to apply them as you feel you need or want to. So we're going to slightly alter the height of your chin as you're doing this. And again, if you find a place where you want to hang out, you hang out. Breathe, right? In any position, you're going to have a different sensation on the exhale versus the inhale. Because breathing is a physiological exercise, an expansion and contraction of core muscles. Start to recognize that you can make a difference for yourself by making small changes, right? So you're going to roll the chin along the chest, bring the chin back to parallel to the floor. Let's inhale. Let's let the hands float up. Nice big deep breath in. If it feels good to look up, you look up. Exhale, big sigh. Throw the hands away. Throw the wrists away. Throw that tension away from your arms and your shoulders. You don't need it, do you? Okay, good. So we're going to swap the legs over again. Register which one you've got crossed in front. Swap it over. Okay. And then from here, we're going to start to let the hands just settle down. Imagine the hands are heavy like lead weights hanging off of the ends of those arms. And you're going to roll the shoulders back. And it's like you're shrugging off the day. Right, and I don't know about you, but every time I do this, it makes me want to yawn. Just releasing, right? And you can yawn, sigh, or groan. You can swear at me. I can't hear you anyway, right? So, you know, whatever. But that's your karma if you do that, right? Okay, and we're rolling those shoulders back. Speed it up a little bit if that feels good. Get a little bit faster with it till you find your groove with it. Again, if you have the opportunity and if you feel comfortable enough to close your eyes, do it. Get rid of some of the visual noise. Give your brain a break from, you know, processing all that stuff around you that you don't need to be doing. Slow it right down, and then you're going to roll the shoulders forwards. And if you want to let your neck adjust, if you want to let your head hang, you could do. This stuff doesn't have to look pretty to be good for you, right? That's the point. You know, if you ever had a bowl of Irish stew, you'll understand that. It doesn't have to look good, right, to be good for you, right? So we're going to slow it right down. We're going to roll one shoulder back at a time, and you're alternating as you do that. That's great, right? And if you feel good and you want to get a little bit more expressive with it, let the ribs move side to side, well, right, well then go for it. But observe how you feel in your lower back when you're doing it. How do you feel in your neck when you're doing it? Breathe. You don't have to do anything else. Just be here. You're going to slow it right down. We're going to then roll one shoulder forwards at a time. Again, you alternate the one that you're doing. If you want to have a little bit of a slump, you're allowed to, right? There's not right and wrong positions to be in. It's not like that. It's about, you know, what do you need a bit more of, what do you need a little bit less of, right? So sometimes you need a little slump and a hangout just to let those muscles that get stretched when you do that get the stretch, right? And so you're going to roll one shoulder back at a time, and the hands are going to start to feel lighter and lighter, and you're going to let them float, one arm at a time, one hand and one arm floats at a time, and you end up eventually in what's called a Tai Chi dance, right? And so you've got one arm and one hand floating over the head, and if you know anything about Tai Chi, you'll understand that it's a slowed down martial art form, right? Okay, so you can think about it like wax on, wax off, yeah? Mr. Miyagi style, right? So your palms turn in towards your head, your palms turn away from the head. I like to think of yoga like psychological self-defense. You can block and deflect other people's rubbish, right? Great stuff. And then we're going to slow it right down. You're doing great. And then we're going to bring the arms in the opposite direction. The arms are going to come behind you and over the top. You got to use it or lose it, right? So this is odd, isn't it? Moving in this way. It's kind of odd, right? But what's the point in doing this? Well, you got to use the ability to move or lose it, okay? So see if you can get the hands behind your head and then over the top, like you're doing a front crawl in a swimming pool. And then let's see if you can lead with the backs of your hands. Oh, yes. Good. Okay, so we're going to let those arms and hands come down by the sides of the body. Well done. We're going to bring those arms behind us. Register which leg you've got crossed in front. We're going to swap it over in a moment. If you need to shake your legs off, first of all, do it. But when you're ready, the other leg comes in front. Great stuff. Okay, check your neck, check your shoulders. This might be the best bit. These bits in between when I kind of just let you do your own thing, right? That might be the most useful bit, yeah? Okay, so on your next inhale, we're going to sweep those arms up, lift and lengthen. We're going to bring those hands up and above you. Bring those hands together. See if you can touch your ears with your arms or get closer to doing that, right? And as you exhale, you're going to bring the hands through the midline to Namaste prayer position. So you're going to do this at least 2 more times in your own time with your own breath. Faster or slower, doesn't matter. Slow the breath down as best you can. Experience how the breath affects the movement, how the movement affects the breath, how those two things are not completely separate. So if that's true, well, you know you can slow down the breathing to slow down the heart rate. You can slow down the heart rate to slow down the internal processes, including those thought processes, you know. That thought process where you're always thinking, what's the next thing? What's the next thing, right? Well, you know, what's this thing? How do you feel in this breath, in this moment, where you're safe and you're warm, right? And that's not to be taken for granted, is it? Okay, so the next time you get those arms up and above you, we're going to pause there. Don't worry. You get here when you get here. We're all going to end up in the same place anyway, right? So you're going to bring those arms up and above you when you get here. We're going to interlace your fingers when you get there. And on your next exhale, you're going to press those palms up towards the sky. It's a big stretch. You're waking yourself up in more ways than one. Now have a little check on the neck and the shoulders. See if you can soften your shoulders a little bit. Do you think you could allow yourself to soften those shoulders a bit more? Okay, so we're going to then bring those palms together. That's great. And we're going to bring the hands down, just about shoulder height. We're going to swap the interlacing of your fingers over. I'm going to come closer to the screen in case you don't know what I mean. We're going to swap the interlacing of your fingers over. That means the other thumb goes on top, the other index finger, other middle finger, other ring finger, and little finger, right? Sometimes people don't get that, so I like to demonstrate it because people learn differently, don't they? Okay, and then you're going to slowly press those palms up towards the sky, left, left, left. That's going to feel weird because the way you're not used to doing it, right? But we're becoming a bit more ambidextrous by doing this. Have a check on the neck and the shoulders. Check your jaw, make it less, right? And a bit more. And that's the very technical explanation behind all this, right? We're trying to be a bit more, right? And so we're going to turn those palms to face towards the back of the room. The outsides of your little fingers are touching. And on your next exhale, keep your palms pointed in that same direction. Bring the palms together. The thumbs will come into the heart. Drop the shoulders down. Did you know that your shoulders didn't have to be up here? Maybe you didn't, right? Prove it to yourself, yeah? Okay, so then from here, on the next inhale, you're going to bring those arms up. Keep your chin parallel to the floor if you have neck problems or blood pressure issues. If you don't, you can look up past the ends of those fingertips. And on your exhale, you're going to bring those hands through the midline. Okay, and at this point, if you have any issues with your ankles, knees, hips, or lower back, I want you to just untangle your legs and just go into all fours pose, okay? But if you don't have any of those issues and you want a bit more of a challenge, watch and then decide whether you want to do it or not. If you're not sure, as you inhale, you sweep the arms up, you can look up. As you exhale, you're going to bow forwards. Now we're going to keep on going forwards until you can get yourself forward and untangle those legs. Get rid of those blocks or those props from underneath you. Maybe you have to just come another way into all fours pose. I don't care how you get there now. We end up in all fours pose, right? Many routes and one destination and all that kind of stuff, right? So we're going to get those middle fingertips no more than a couple of inches away from the front of the mat. We're going to bring the knees back a bit further than your hips. Bring your knees good to mat distance apart. I'm going to turn around here. I want you to get the big toes touching if you can, the heels separating, just showing you how the feet should be if we can do it. Okay, and on your next exhale, we're going to push the floor away. You're going to keep on looking forward, bringing your forearms down to the floor if you can. Then the forehead resting in this extended child's pose. So I'm going to sit up so you can hear me a bit more clearly. You stay where you are if you can. If you're really struggling here, guys, you know you could stick some cushions underneath your bum here and sit on it, right? Okay, but I want you to try softening your fingers here. So give your fingers a little wriggle. Okay, again, I'm sitting up so that I can talk to you. You're still in this extended child's pose if you can. Okay, have a little roll of your head from side to side. Why not walk those hands back a little bit closer to your body? I bet you can do that, and I bet it feels a bit nicer in your shoulders too. It's a resting pose, right? And so can you shift your weight a little bit from one side to the other and see how that feels into your upper back, into your chest, and into your shoulders, right? And so this is simple, isn't it? It's not, doesn't look fancy, you know, in terms of, you know, pictures for Instagram and stuff, but it doesn't matter. It's about finding stuff that gives you some relief, you know, from what you need relieving from, right? And so you're always allowed to do this extended child's pose at any time if you need to. Okay, so whenever you're ready, you're going to center back. You're going to bring your hands to the outsides of your knees. And on your next exhale, you're going to push the floor away and slowly and gradually bring yourself up. When you get here, can you bring those knees together? Let those big toes touch and the heels fall out to the side. Now this might be really difficult for you. If it is, this is where you use those props. You can get 2 or 3 or 17 cushions, doesn't matter. Get them, sit on them, okay? If you're struggling with those feet and those ankles, that's common, right? Have a look at what I'm asking you to do with those feet. Toes in, heels out. We're trying to sit between those heels or get closer to that. If you're struggling, then you use those props underneath you. Okay, great stuff. So we're going to then work a little bit on those wrists. If you spend a lot of time on a keyboard, this is really important to do, right? So sequence 1 for your wrists. You're going to stretch the back of the right wrist, then you bring the right palm back down. You can watch and then join whenever you feel ready. Stretch the back of the left wrist, and you bring the left palm back down. Okay, so that's sequence 1. You carry on doing that. I'm going to come closer to the camera just in case you can't see, right? So imagine I was still sitting down in that hero's pose. You stretch the back of the right wrist, then you bring the right palm down, you stretch the back of the left wrist. Relax those fingers as well. Don't force those fingers to be straight, right? You feel that? Yeah, okay, because you're on the keyboard all the time, right? Okay, good. All right then, so this is good. If you feel that's a really strong thing for you to do, this is practice. This is what you need to practice a bit more. Okay, so sequence 2, stretch the back of the right wrist, then the back of both wrists, and you bring the right palm down, then the both palms down. Now, it's not really that different at this point, but you'll understand why sequence 1 and sequence 2 are important to differentiate between eventually. Right now, whatever you're doing, when you get into a rhythm with it, I want you to just close your eyes and just let yourself get that stretch. We're not focusing on the shoulders here. We're focusing on letting the wrists stretch. Relax the fingers and the wrists. Just going to check the time for us. Okay, good. So we've got those palms down. If that's enough for you, you stay there, okay? If you want a bit more of a challenge, you bring the hands a bit wider than your mat. You're going to bring your knees to mat distance apart. Grab a prop. Yeah, everybody has a cushion, right? So get a cushion, and you're going to bring your hands down onto that. You can use a block, yeah, if you need a block. If you haven't got a cushion, of course you can. Whatever your prop is, right? So from here, I'm going to turn to the side just to show you what I'm talking about. Get your hands around your hips. Let's do this. Get your hands around your hips here, right? And so as you inhale, do that tilting forward action here. That's the tilt of your pelvis, right? And as you exhale, you're going to tilt the pelvis back. And just observe how you feel. Let yourself sink into that. It's a downhearted position right now. It can feel lovely, right? It's not that it's wrong. It's just that you're observing how it feels, right? So too much, if anything, is too much. As you inhale, tilt the pelvis forwards. Start to feel that engagement in your lower back, yeah? Exaggerate it a little bit, right? Hands around the hips if you can. As you exhale, tilt that pelvis back. So when you've done that a couple of times and you know what I'm talking about, you can bring your hands down onto your prop. And as you inhale, tilt the pelvis forwards. You know, you can stop and walk up to the camera if you want. I can't even see anybody except for Iain and Katherine. So if you want to walk right up to your camera and have a look at what I'm doing here, do it, right? As you exhale, this is tilting the pelvis back. So we're just getting the basics, getting our base right. Yeah? Understanding these terms that can give me a shorthand to talk to you for the next little bit if we want to. Okay, so you're going to keep that pelvis then tilted forwards when you get there next. Can you roll your shoulders back and float onto your fingertips? If you can do that, can you float the fingers a millimeter off of the prop? If you can do that, can you float your arms out to the side? Keep your eyes fixed on a spot about 8 feet in front of you on the floor. Your wrists are at your shoulder height. Point the fingers up. As you exhale, you can imagine you're like a big eagle, just flapping your wings and then set them hands back down light as a feather. Okay, good. So maintain that engagement in your lower back so you're not slamming all of your weight down onto your wrists. That's why I'm asking you to do it. If you need to come out of the position anytime, come out of it, take a rest. It's not the same as giving up, taking a rest. The difference is, the will to come back when you can, right? So sequence 1, stretch the back of the right wrist, you bring the right palm back down again. Stretch the back of the left wrist, you bring the left palm back down again. Okay, so that's sequence 1. We're carrying on with that, yeah? Have a little check through the neck. Okay, I'll move this out of the way and use that block in case you can't see what I'm talking about, yeah? Alright then, so we're going to bring those palms down. You're going to round the back a bit. You're going to get rid of that prop off to the side. Bring your hands down onto the floor. If you need to move your knees a bit wider apart to make sure that your wrists stay your shoulder distance apart, you do it. We're going to roll the head one side to the other, right? And it's a little bit like, you were dancing to Nirvana back in the day. This is where yoga and grunge meet. All right, so you're going to roll the head to the right hand side, draw the right shoulder back, left shoulder forward, roll the head to the left hand side, draw the left shoulder back, right shoulder forwards. In other words, whatever side you roll your head to, try and feel the stretch in the opposite side of your lower back. Okay, we're going to bring that chin back into the center. And as you inhale, we're going to look forwards. You're going to walk the hands forwards a bit, bring the knees in a bit, walk the hands forwards a bit, bring the knees in a bit. Keep on going until you relatively comfortably get back to the front of the mat. Okay, we're on all fours pose. If you have any props underneath you, get rid of those props now. We're going to straighten that right leg, push your right heel back. I'm going to turn to the side to make sure you know what I'm talking about. And as you exhale, push back to that heel. Look over your right shoulder at your right heel. Get that big stretch in the back of that right leg. Don't forget to breathe. You're not holding your breath, are you? What's the point in that? And on your next exhale, bring your knees down. You're going to look in between the hands here. Let's make some comfort adjustments. So you're going to have a little shake off of the wrists, a few little rotations through one wrist and then rotating through the other. Again, flick the hands and the wrists off here. Lift one knee and have a little rotation through the ankle here on one side. Okay, you might even want to straighten that leg out. And then you're going to do the same thing on the other side, yeah? Have a little rotation through that ankle. Good stuff. Okay, so you bring the knees back down, let the head hang. You're going to let the head sway from side to side. And we're going to do that snake-like action again like we did earlier, but it's just that the spine is now horizontal as opposed to vertical, isn't it? So you're moving in the snake-like action through your upper back, your mid-back, your lower back, and even letting the hips go side to side now again. Don't worry about what it looks like. What does it feel like? You're moving and becoming more mobile through the spine. Okay, so eventually you're going to come back into the center. And on your next inhale, you're going to straighten the left leg, push your left heel back. On your next exhale, look over the left shoulder at that left heel. Use your arms. Push the front of the mat away from you more. The foot stays on the floor here, right? So you're keeping the foot down. And push with your arms to feel the stretch increasing in the backs of the legs. And on your next exhale, you're going to bring the knees back down. We're going to look in between the hands. Let's make those comfort adjustments. We're going to rotate through one wrist and then the other, flicking the hands off here. Good stuff. Let's lift one knee and let's rotate that ankle, and we're going to lift the other. We're coming to the end of this practice now, so don't worry, we're almost done. You're doing great. Okay, so from here then, we're going to push ourselves back. We're going to allow ourselves to bring the hands down to one side, your feet to the other. Okay, grab your cushion or your prop, whatever you're using. And we're going to sit ourselves into that cross-legged position. Okay, so check your neck, check your shoulders, how you're feeling through the spine. Let's bring the hands into chin mudra, so the thumb and the first finger lightly touch, other three fingers are extending. We're going to draw the elbows into the sides of the body. Just take a few breaths. As you inhale, just rounding the stomach and stretching those abdominal muscles. Become aware of that space inside. Try and pause at the end of that inhale. Exhale. Draw the belly button back in. Feel yourself lifting through the heart at the same time. You deserve a rest and a bit of space and peace and quiet as much as anybody else does. Right, so if your yoga practice only gives you just one more breath and peace and quiet than you would have had otherwise in your day, then I think it's worthwhile. Slowly, keeping the eyes closed if you can then. On the next inhale, we're going to sweep those arms out, reach and extend upwards as you gather in the chi, the ki and the prana, the strength and the focus that we've gained together this evening. Let's take that with us. So on your exhale, you're going to bring the hands through the midline, float the thumbs in front of the forehead for kind thoughts. Float the thumbs in front of the lips then for kind words. And finally rest the thumbs in the heart center for kind actions. Kind thoughts, kind words, kind actions. Apply those things to yourself as well as to others. Just give yourself a little bow of acknowledgement. Thank you very much for joining me in this practice. Namaste. Well done. Thank you very much. Thank you. Good, good. All right. Hope you enjoyed that.